When you're 18, you can vote, you can join the military, but you cannot legally drink alcohol. Well, now an activist group is trying to change that by pushing to lower the drinking age from 21 to 18. Meantime, the U.S. health and safety groups are teaming up to keep the law right where it is. So could the law really be changed? Should it be? John McCardell is the director of Choose Responsibility, a group that supports lowering the drinking age. Chuck Hurley is the chief executive officer for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Their organization was the driving force in getting the legal age raised to 21 across the nation. All right, Chuck, what's the idea? I mean, you were a college president at one point. You've seen some younger people do some pretty irresponsible things, haven't you?
I bet you meant that question for John.
I'm sorry. I did get that confused. John, go ahead.
Yes, I was a college president, and I've seen the way in which this law works. We've heard recently about what science supposedly tells us about the drinking age. We're not talking about science. We're talking about mathematics. We're talking about probabilities. We're talking about estimates. We're talking about a trend in alcohol-related fatalities that began to decline before the law was changed, and we're talking about a rate of fatalities that has been basically flat for the last 10 years. On the other hand, we're looking at the toll alcohol is taking of real lives with real names in places off the highways. We're looking at binge drinking. We're looking at more than 1,000 lives a year lost by 18 to 24-year-olds in the dark quarters where legal age 21 is forced.
So you think that lowering the drinking age would lower binge drinking?
Binge drinking does not take place in bars, in restaurants, in large public gatherings. Binge drinking takes place behind closed doors in the most risky of environments. And it seems to me that what we ought to try to do is bring this back out into the open to educate young adults about alcohol and trust them to be the adults that the law says in every other respect that they are.
All right, Charles, what do you think of that plan?
Well, John, you're a nice man, and I know you believe that, but unfortunately you're dead wrong. The real question for the parents of America is that they want their teenagers to have more access to alcohol or less.
And obviously keeping it at 21 is where you think it ought to be?
It's probably the best studied public health law in recent history, and it does save lives. And there really is no controversy in the science whatsoever. John's entitled to his own views, but not his own facts.
But Chuck, one of John's points is that the lowered drinking age would come along with a whole lot of education and responsibility information to make kids make better choices. Will it work?
Well, I wish messaging was enough. John, we ought to work together to lower binge drinking. Unfortunately, lowering the drinking age wouldn't reduce binge drinking, and matter of fact, might increase it.
So, John, I mean, what's the harm in leaving the drinking age where it is?
A law that says it is illegal to drink before you turn 21 can be evaluated in only one way. Is it working? Are young adults under 21 drinking or not? The data are unmistakable on this point. The vast majority of young adults have already consumed alcohol by the time they turn 21. Most of the rest of the world has figured this out. Most of the rest of the world has laws that reflect the social reality of alcohol in the lives of young people. We can deny it, we can wish it were otherwise, but supporting prohibition of alcohol for those young adults under the age of 21 has never worked and isn't working.
All right, John McCardell and Chuck Hurley, thank you both.